Good day to everybody. My name is Markus Karilet. I work in Helmes, and today I try to open a bit how to integrate artificial intelligence to your daily life. But before I continue, I must give you a few words from my sponsors from Helmes. This is a short clip of our summer boot camp. Please have a look and buy the product.
Ma olen Ilja.
Mina olen Isto.
Ma olen Heidi.
Mina olen Lauri.
Mina olen Egert.
Mina olen Rasmus.
Olen Vladimir.
Mina olen Karli.
Ma olen Kristiina.
Bootcampis, kui meile midagi õpetati, siis kohe pärast seda me saime seda rakendada.
Siin sa saad kogu protsessi algusest lõpuni teada.
Me alustame täiesti nullist projektiga ja siis arendame seda kuni lõpuni.
Esimene nädal saime seminare, hästi palju uusi teadmisi, tehnilisi ja siis viimased 3 nädalat saime pidevalt arendada.
Me tegime reaalselt mingi koodijupi valmis, siis mentorid vaatasime koodijupi üle ja siis nad andsid oma arvamuse, et mis me võiks parandada.
Mingit probleem tekib, siis saab alati küsida ja oma vastused saab ka nagu põhimõtteliselt samal ajal kätte.
Mentorid andsid tõesti hästi palju tagasisidet ja see võimaldas õppida hästi palju, näha, kuidas tuleks asju teha.
Kindlasti annab see kooliga võrreldes väga palju kogemust, kuna me suhtleme reaalselt kliendiga ja kliendiga suheldes sa saad täpselt teada, mida ta soovib ning vastavalt siis vajadusele muuta oma tööd või siis teha paremaks.
Peale tööd oli ka meelelahutusi päris palju, et me käisime paintballi mängima, me käisime koos Helmese töötajatega nendes suvepäevadel terve nädalavahetus.
Pubiüritus oli, siis orienteerumine oli ja kõik sellised üritused, need aitavad üksteisega tuttavaks saada personaalsel tasemel ja kui te tunnete üksteist personaalsel tasemel, siis on palju lihtsam ka professionaalsel tasemel kokku töötada.
Tuleb välja, et ei ole ainult oluline see, kuidas te koodi kirjutate, vaid kuidas te inimesena olete.
Siis saab hästi palju üldteadmisi selle kohta, kuidas nagu päris elus siis kõik see analüüsiprotsess ja kogu see arendus siis toimub.
Kõige väärtuslikum õppetund, mis on võimalik siit Helmese bootcampis saada, on Scrumi metoodika ja meeskonnatöö.
Kõige rohkem iseloomustab hea tiimitöö seda bootcampi.
Töötada koos inimestega, kellega sulle meeldib koos töötada, siis see aitab tõesti hästi palju.
Tekibki see tiimiliikmena tunne, et sa ei ole nagu üksi, vaid sa oled nagu ühes mehhanismis üks osa, mis täidab ka vajalikku rolli. Bootcamp vastas minu ootustele ja täitis need veel rohkemgi kui vaja.
Ma soovitan kõigil kindlasti kandideerida, sellepärast et kaotada pole midagi ja võita on hästi palju kogemust.
Ma arvan, et Helmese Summer Bootcamp on koht, kuhu peaks ikka sina tulema.
So, Summer Bootcamp is an event that we are doing for its third year now. So this year, first time we're doing it in English. So if you do not speak Estonian, have no fear. This is a place for you also. Our first deadline was yesterday, but the registration is open until the 26th. So then you will have to send the assignment. If you register today, you will have more time. If you register in the 25th, then you don't have much time. But if you feel very comfortable, then you can maybe solve it with one day. We do this test assignment just to get the general idea of what's your knowledge, in what team you should participate, because we take forming of the teams very seriously, and this is why we have test assignments. After that, you see beginning of interviews. We interview each participant just to get a general idea of what they're thinking, how they like working, and form perfect teams with that. And by the 5th of May, we will have the results. Usually we do 2 teams. It's 10 persons total, and we have different technologies. It might be Java, PHP, .NET, or OpenEdge, HPL. We said it's progress in our forms, but usually we have 2 teams. One is doing Java, other is PHP, or one team is .NET, other is PHP. This is actually, the need comes from you. If you only do Java, then we will have to do a Java team, and also our business units. They provide us with some kind of estimates. How many people do they need? What are their expectations? And we try to provide for them. And we are building real-life projects. For example, the first year bootcamp built for us a personal development plan, which is actually a kind of annual appraisal system, or a bit like gamification for your career. You have to set your goals, what do I have to do next, what to read, and then you can move forward in your career path. So this is something we're using daily basis. Also, bootcampers from last year made 2 systems. One is a contract system that enables our team leaders to create invoices directly to SAP, Microsoft Navision, and virtual machine management software, which is real beneficial for our operations team, which I don't know, it was hundreds of hours that we save in a year basis with these reports. So we are contributing to this program a lot, because we see that we get from that, and also we try to give. Our mentors are for you, and also we try to get some fun, as you saw in the video, some team management, and the most precious thing is Scrum and teamwork. So if you feel like you have some kind of technical knowledge already, register in the bootcamp page here, click, and then fill in the form. You will receive an email with additional form. You can import some data from LinkedIn, so you don't have to type everything. But it's just to get the general idea of what are your thoughts and ideas and experiences, so we can position you better. So before I move forward, I have some answers in my presentations, but first I would like to know some ideas. If you saw the invitation in the Facebook about this event, you were having some thoughts that, hey, maybe this guy will talk about, and I would like to know what this is. So maybe you? Okay, in general, get some idea of the artificial intelligence. Okay, so maybe here, you? Yeah?
Future applications, like things that are practical now that might become practical when you have, let's say, unlimited intelligence.
Okay.
Sorting trash, or disassembling and recycling. You had an AI that could disassemble any phone you give it and recycle every part correctly, then that would be a very interesting application if you had that kind of intelligence.
Okay. Okay. This I don't cover too much, but I try to maybe grasp it a bit, and maybe somebody from up there, for example, guy with the Mac in the last row. Okay, some general ideas in bootcamp. And there was a guy who had, oh yeah?
Will you talk about Alexa and specifics?
Specific what? Alexa? No, well, it's a part, she's already listening, because it integrates artificial intelligence in itself, and also it's a kind of enabler for you to integrate all the other stuff. So I tried to touch this topic, and also we have it as a award for best question. I'm not nominating the best question. Girls here, they are listening to your thoughts, and if they find that your question was the best, then we will unfortunately right now give up a gift card, which means that we will promise to deliver you Amazon Echo Dot if it arrives, because it's very high in demand, and at the moment it's available in the States, Great Britain, and Germany. So it takes a bit hacking to get, but we will deliver it. So think of some good questions and ask as we go. And if we're advancing, then please wait for the microphone, because we are going online also, and other people are hoping also to hear your questions. So these are a few questions that I thought that I can cover with this topic in generic sense, but I will try to not stick too much to the presentation, but maybe do a bit of back and forth with you, so you would get the most out of this. So generally, I would try to answer what is artificial intelligence in general, how does it work, how and what there is to integrate at all with artificial intelligence, and how this could be beneficial to you at the moment, and how can you do something similar, or maybe do your own little project. So artificial intelligence. I was thinking I will put a Terminator image back there, but maybe it would be kind of misleading, since it's only one of implementation ways. You can just set it to destroy humankind, but there's much more with this we can do. So, for example, I will give a brief overview of the background. To my knowledge, it started to flourish in the 90s, but it was actually mentioned before. In 1950s, Alan Turing proposes a learning machine, which was some kind of ideas towards machine learning. Then the artificial intelligence is nothing per se, but it's a result of machine learning. So we have a smart machine that will respond to the environment. And machine learning is something that you can get from artificial neural networks. That's you can see the picture here, which actually represents a simplified model of a artificial neural network. Anyone has seen this kind of image before? So some of you have some general idea. For others, this simply means that we can treat this as a general function that has input parameters. It does some magic, and you will have a result. So this magic is something that we do not code to it. We define the algorithm in some way, how many layers it has, but it basically learns the implementation by itself. You have to provide input values. You have to train it by saying that whatever comes out of this is the right result or the wrong result. And taking these parameters into account, the algorithm will train to be proficient for you. So how it actually is working in a general sense, I won't go into details. I have a link here. Don't worry, the presentation has a link in the end where you can find the presentation itself, so you can click all the links afterwards. But here's a TED talk explaining in a very good way the artificial intelligence, how it's working, and why it's working the way it is. So what happens here is that it's a mimic of human brain, actually, how the human brain is working in a general sense of neurons passing information to each other, forming structures. So let's simplify this a bit And if it's too complex, just wave, I will just slow down or try to elaborate more. Let's simplify and leave out one output parameter and one input parameter. Anyone know what AND or OR gates are? Logic operators. Okay, most of you. So I will try to explain a OR gate. Let's say it should be a OR function, which means if I pass 1 and 0, it will result in 1. If I pass 0 and 0, it will result in 0. But we don't actually program the OR gate. We have to train it in a way that if you get these parameters, it's correct. If you get 0 and 0, you will get a result of 0. So if we are training a model, it starts out as a random set of weights on each of these connections and passes them on until the end. And then it compares if the end result is actually what we expect. And why is machine learning now starting to flourish is because in the 1980s, there was success through backpropagation, which meant that if the value ended up here was not, let's say we expect it to be 1, but it was 0, it modified all the paths back to the initial value, so the ways would result the actual correct value. And if you train it again and over and over again, it will adjust the ways on each of these connections until the results are correct. And this also makes a case when you use very specific values and very many times, you will overtrain your model, which means that it will not give you the right answers, it will just know how to do it. It's something like if you study something and you don't get how it works, you just know if it's 0 and 0, it has to be 0. I don't know why, but I know that it is. So it's overtrained model. The fun thing here is that no answer here is deterministic, which means that if I have an OR gate which should result in 1, it actually does not give me 1. It does not know it. It will result a probability of 95%. So it thinks that it's something about 1, but it's not sure. So this is, let's say, underlying or fundamental block here. Anybody know what gamification is? So basically, gamification is something that you give awards in real life. For example, you do a nice deed every day for a week, then you will get a badge, nice guy. So this is something that actually, if we would use more often, and if the artificial intelligence is moving into our lives, we can use it to train models. You say that this is a good thing, this is a bad thing, what you did, so it will learn. And this is a model of artificial intelligence algorithm. You don't have to understand it just to get a general sense. It's actually a set of parameters. This actually knows what beers I like. So if you pass some parameters through it, it will say that Markus will probably like this beer or he won't. So it's not much further, a few lines down also. And so this is a sort of experience for models. But if you actually think that the human mind works in the same way, that you have some ideas, you know that this is good or this is bad. For past experience, or you can predict that I think that given these circumstances, it will be good, or it will result in some kind of catastrophic failure. So I try to open some implementations in real life so you will get a maybe better grasp on the general side, because it was maybe a bit too technical at first. So practically every life part has some sort of artificial intelligence implementation to it. For example, image recognition. Google and Facebook are doing it quite goodly. Also, product suggestions like Target and Amazon. I don't know if this is a urban legend, but there was a story that Target was sued by an American consumer because it started to send them out the baby product advertising. And after 9 months, the guy went back and apologized because his daughter was pregnant at the time, but no one did know it, but only the consumer behavior changed at that point. But it was something that you don't think, but you just do. But I don't know, maybe all pregnant people do something in the stores that the Target algorithm picked up that day. Also, marketing analysis and customer loyalty. If you are an Amazon client for a long time and you are starting to switch them, let's say, for Google's equivalent service, then they will start to send you some kind of promotions just to keep you still using their product. And they know it because they monitor how you are working, where are you going, what are you doing, and comparing it to these leaving customers. And then the algorithm will say that, hey, Markus is probably going to leave, do something. Fraud detection also, PayPal and others, Google. I had a bad experience with this. I was in Lithuania and tried to buy a movie from Google Videos, and I was not able to do it because my credit card didn't pass. It was for the system a bit. It wasn't my regular behavior. I'm not usually buying anything at all, and I'm usually in Estonia, so this was no go. Then voice-enabled assistants such as Echo Dot here, or Siri or Google Assistant, also using it to get the general idea what are you saying and try to answer the best to their knowledge. Chatbots, Facebook, I believe they're not very pushing it, but basically you have the chance to shop while chatting with your friend, for example, where to go or get some products. They will inject it into the conversation. Google Assistant also has a chatbot version, and Microsoft Tay. Has anyone heard of Microsoft Tay? Yeah, too. So it's a chatbot that Microsoft thought would benefit young people who are getting lonely in the internet, so you can tweet with it. What happened is that since it was scanning the internet or previous tweets of people, it went from nice to Nazi. So anyway, you can check the link out. There was an article about it. So Microsoft shut it down. It's not working. People were misusing it. But I think in a way it was fun to just ruin this little guy. Then speech synthesis. It's something Google just did in DeepMind. Maybe I can just give a general example here, since I have the sound. So what they did was they are expecting how the speech would go by if people are talking, instead of just concatenating or cutting parts of sentences to parts of sentence, words to a sentence. So let me just give you an example of a concatenative.
The Blue Lagoon is a 1980 American romance and adventure film directed by Randall Kleiser.
Which is pretty good.
The Blue Lagoon is a 1980 American romance and adventure film directed by Randall Kleiser.
But this is so much better because it feels so much natural how the sentences are going through. And they also did a fun trick of letting it go wild, for example. They use the same algorithm that knows how to speak English, but they also had a version of their, they didn't provide any input. They just let it speak.
Sådan et udfærdselsagere er still ser man på den plötsligt när det sitter det gör det för den där kan det ge så. I'm plus.
So it's what human speech looks like to him. So. And also gaming is a part that has developed quite rapidly, and regarding of DeepMind, I hope that you haven't seen it. Has anybody seen DeepMind playing? I don't know. It was okay. So one person. Sorry. I will show it just to give you a general sense of what these algorithms can do. Now, let me just put it here. So this is the part where the gamification comes in, that the algorithm knows when the score goes up, it's a good thing. When the score goes down, not so good. And he has the possibility to move the board, but it doesn't know anything about the game itself. What is the ball or how does it work? So it's something really chaotic at first. But he does know that the score is going down if he misses the ball. Like maybe a very small child just found the game. Well, 2 hours was enough to get a general idea how the game is working and how to get good scores. Maybe an experienced player would do it this way. But since it's always seeing patterns in events, it found out that if you do this kind of hole in here, you have to work very little to win the game and get extra points. And this was just by learning these results. If the score goes up, it's a good thing. Score goes down, not so good. So actually, very interesting to see where it evolves in real life. Let's say robots. Here's an example of implementation in Google Photos. I said there was previously an algorithm that knows what beers I like. These are the beers that I drink, but also you see that the only filter that I'm saying is beer. I'm not providing anything else to my photos. It also knows what photos are there and what do they represent. It's actually quite accurate, but these Saku drinks are lemonades, so he missed that, but they look like beers a lot. So have you ever imagined why Google offers free picture storage? Yeah? That's right, to train the image recognition. So they actually own all your photos. They ration it and get some ideas what you are picturing and then train their models to know things like this. So this is the part where if you're not paying for it, you're the product being sold. Anyway, where I want to get today is that first of all, things started out as Linux terminals, MS-DOS terminals, where you're trying to express your intents. You're saying that list the files, delete the files, move them from here to there. Or, for example, a very basic game like Larry Leisure Suit Larry. So where you had to type in what you do, open door, go in, do some actions. but you couldn't move by yourself. So again, you were using the most basic input methods to say something to the game that I would like to do this or that. And actually, we are going back to the basics at the moment. These are the representations from a newer one. It's some kind of Tomb Raider. You interact, you do something, you say that reload. You could actually maybe replace it with a console saying reload the gun. Or if you haven't seen MS-DOS terminal and laser anyway, Larry was trying to enter the casino. He was waiting your input. You just type in, go to the casino, it will go in. The difference here is that, let's say the Larry game was predefined. There was a set of actions. If you did not type the correct action in, it would not work because it was looking for specific actions that you can do. This is something that's changing now. And these are some of these platforms that help you use artificial intelligence in terms of understanding what you are saying, like get the list of restaurants or get the list of e-shop items, or scheduling appointments, which is something that I tend to do quite often on the Google Assistant side if my hands are tied with the wheels, for example. But these are all okay, but they're not great. And what's missing here? The part that's missing is these are actually just extensions of applications that you already have. For example, this calendar part or the Google Assistant knows the restaurants. And what we have at the moment is basically the same concept that we had in 1874 when Bell got the patent for the telephone, actually, which means that if somebody wants to reach us or contact or phone us, what happens is the phone rings or dings or whatever. So this concept hasn't changed, but we have all the technology to change it. For example, if somebody is calling me, yes, it can be a ring, but if somebody's sending me a text message, I could have a, let's say, Google Home box or Amazon Echo that will read it out to me because I'm in the room. It knows that I am in the room. So some platforms that enable you to integrate everything with these chatbots, for example, Google Assistant has this API AI platform integration available. If this, then that, which is something that the Amazon Echo provides, or Zapier, which is also a platform to integrate many different programs that you already have to get something that's meaningful. For example, if you have a garage door that's opened programmatically, you can program it to open when you start to arrive at your home. Just you can drive in without stopping. This is a really simple case, but if we're talking about, let's say, home automation, what would I like to do is if I go to sleep, for example, I say, Alexa, good night.
Good night.
So anyway, this would trigger something like to close all the blinds, maybe turn off the floor heating, turn down a bit the thermostat in the home so the overall temperature would drop because it is good to sleep in a bit colder conditions. And the other way around, when I wake up, it should all open up the blinds, turn up the heat and whatnot. So integrating everything that you have to simple commands. This is what if this, then that platform is meant to provide. And what you can do is you can do a Amazon Echo skill, for example. I will talk about this also, but I won't stop there. So creating integrations is something that Uber and Airbnb did, and they are very successful in it. So how can you do something? Echo skill, this is something that has some additional overhead to it, since the Amazon is hosting them to their own Lambda servers, which are, anybody know what Lambda server is? Yeah, I thought you would know. So it's a serverless server, basically. You just upload your source, which is in Node.js or Python, and then if it's invoked, the Amazon will find the server to invoke it in and return the results. You can write in these platforms, and also you can integrate with Algorithmia. This is quite a cool place. It's an open marketplace for algorithms. You can buy some from them, but actually you have a free quota of very much hours of using their algorithms for free. So some examples that there are is colorized black and white photos. So it will tries to guess what kind of colors there should be. Also get a general, get a summary of text block. But actually it works in English only, but I think that it's a good advancement, so you can just get an overview of some kind of paragraphs. And you can use them for free or integrate these to your actual platforms that they use existing hardware, for example, home automation devices. So what do you need for this? You need this. Or if you ask any good questions, then you will win one. Yes. If you don't want to buy it, the Amazon Echo is 150 euros. The smaller one is 50 euros. You can use Raspberry. I believe it will be more expensive to use Raspberry eventually. So it's actually not a poor man's Echo, but if you have all the components, it's possible. There's a do-it-yourself guide behind the link. You need enthusiasm. You need it anyway, whether you will do this or you will participate in the bootcamp. And it's good if you have internet-enabled devices for IoT stuff, which will open up so much more possibilities for you to use, like, as I said, the thermostat or the blinds, or whatever, create a party mode, the disco ball will fall down from the roof. So these are all things that help you programming life-enabled or life-enhancing things. For example, every morning when I woke up, there were cold mornings in the winter and in the autumn. I had to think that whether I have to give my dog a pill. There's a certain interval that I have to give it, and I'm just calculating in the calendar every morning. It's the day today, or oh, it's not the day today. So what I did was, I did a Amazon Echo skill for that, which actually works if I type in all the right parameters. The problem here is that while the Amazon Echo is always learning, as they're saying, and they're using machine learning to get the ideas what you are trying to express, they're not so good with custom commands. They know very well if I say hello or goodbye or how are you doing. These are things that they have millions of examples. But if I say that, I don't know, I want my application name to be dog pills or something like that, it doesn't understand it very well, because dog can be bog or hog or whatever. So in generally, it's very hard to get a good name that it will understand, since it does not have this experience behind it. But it's a possibility, so you can train it just every day, say the same thing to it, and it will eventually get the way of how you're saying it and what do you want to express by saying dog pills. I mean, it can say, yes, today is the day to give your dog the pill. And also, you need to have some kind of background in either Node.js or Python. If you do not have it, maybe it's a bit bit cumbersome to get all these platforms ready for your development, but they have made it quite simple. I can talk on the Amazon Echo part. They have their own SDKs, they have their examples, so you can just compare and copy paste. So these are the ways to use existing artificial intelligence in your daily life. If you want to go further, you can study more and implement your own algorithms. For example, like I had the beer suggestion one. But this is, I think, more of a topic on its own, and maybe a bit too technical. I would not like to go into that. So, if you have any questions to participate, so I would like to just try to discuss with you. Yes. Sorry, wait.
If you create your algorithm about your beer thing, how can you go forward? Like, how can you taste new beers when it will only calculate? Like, it will only calculate based on your experience. What you have chosen in the past, it will try to suggest the same, if I understand correctly. So how do you, like, if to approach that problem, how do you put the thing in the AI that it suggests something new for you and not something based on your experience?
Thank you. So the general idea here is, fortunately, I have some beers that I have not tried also. So it has some array of products to suggest from. But overall, let's say I only have my beers. Only my beers. I know which ones I like, which ones I don't like, and I am trying to train an algorithm to do it. And how should I now validate that it's working? One way is that you take 75% of these things you already have, and you know the rest 25%, which you like, which you don't like. And you validate against this set of controlled results. So this is how you get the idea that it's working correctly. It's suggesting on its own. It's not suggesting just these that you train it to, but it has some kind of, let's say, will or a general idea what I might like. So this is one option, but you have to have a lot of data, and it's hard regarding to the beers to have a lot of data and the work at the same time. So did this answer your question, or?
I think partially.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the other part?
Well, I agree with much information. Like, you need to know what the beer consists. You need to calculate probably what in the beers which you liked in the past, what was the consistency there. So it should suggest the same, something based on that. Like, you need a lot of information, which in my mind will be not available for your beer drinking skills. So you need a lot of information to calculate a good suggestion, I think. So yeah, thank you for the question.
So actually, just a sec. There's what I'm measuring in a beer is, for example, how bitter it is, how sour it is, how generic tasteful it is. So these are the parameters that the algorithm takes in, and it's what it's comparing against you. So yeah.
Thank you. I have a question about the artificial intelligence and cybersecurity. Have there been attempts to create an artificial intelligence that does malicious things on purpose?
Thank you for that question. I know the contrary part was true, that IBM or an employee of IBM created a project called Haven. It's Alexa-like device that is integrated on top of IBM's learning platform Watson. So what it does, it can tell you real-time security threats or attacks on these your networks. So it's a kind of helping assistant for you as you go. But I'm sure that there's somebody who has turned the opposite to just scan and analyze the patterns on the victims' network. So it's a scary thought, though. Yeah.
What are the most interesting home automation examples you know?
Oh, it's the problem here is that with this home automatization, first of all, I have a dumb home. There's not much smart about it, but I'm working towards it. Anyway, in a general and public scope, there is not much of, as I see, not much of an advancement. Basically, what they do is they hook a thermostat, lights, and maybe some kitchen appliances to the network. And this is your smart home, but actually you just can turn your lights on and off from your phone. But if you start to think there may be some problems at the moment or unresolved issues that maybe some devices cannot connect. For example, most people do not have internet-enabled or digital locks in their doors. So there was a funny story that I can't remember the lock company name, but they're working towards it, and it was a Amazon Echo skill that you could set unlock the front door, and it would unlock the front door for you. But if you shout it out through the door, it would actually work the same way. So there was a PIN code you had to enter, like 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 2, 1. It was 8 digits. So then the front door would open. So this was something that they're working towards at the moment to get some kind of security on the doors. But actually, it's if you're very open-minded, you could integrate it maybe with your elevator. If you come up with the elevator, it unlocks the door for you and maybe starts a oven for you that actually might work. But as far as I have seen, I haven't seen any really, really exciting home automation bundles. They're quite basic. But the real value should come if you can integrate more things to it, like the elevator, for example.
Thank you. Back in the not so distant past, there actually already were examples of voice-controlled communication. For example, already 15 years ago, there were mobile phones, like first-generation smartphones, which could be commanded by voice. And in not so recent past, there was Google Glass. And for example, actually, no one used the voice command functionality of those phones. And when people were starting to talk with their Google Glass, it pissed everyone around them off. And I actually, among my friends, I only heard someone using voice assistants on some drunk parties when people just making jokes with that. So I'm certainly sure that there's very smart marketing people in Amazon. But what are they counting on this time? Why should this be like not another geeky thing, like now we can make voice commands with neural networks. Let's do that because it's geeky and fun.
Yeah, thanks. It's a good question, and I can get some topic on that. So what's different this time is that, let's say that I'm assuming now that if you bet, for example, on games or whatever, I'm not actually doing it, but I think that it might work like this. If you have 100 games going on at the same time, and you can change your bet towards favorable situation, for example, scores in football, then you have to check all these games at once to see that what are the new stats, or get a SMS notification for that. But what if this changing event could come from voice-activated device, for example, that now score between Manchester and Liverpool is 1-0. Do you want to do something? And I would say like, yes, place a bet or increase the bet.
Like, yes, place a bet, place a bet.
Or for stock exchange, the same thing, that you can predict or try to predict the market with your homemade algorithm that's better than everybody else's. And if it sees that maybe this stock option is starting to drop, you just shout, sell everything, and it will just invoke this selling point. So I think that this is the place where the real value comes in. It's not working if you're outdoors, it doesn't hear you because of the noise, and it's maybe cumbersome to use English in Estonian environment also. But if you're an operations guy in a IT company and you have a notification that the server app 1 is running out of memory tomorrow, because it knows the pace of the memory consumption, what should I do? Do I add memory? Because it's all virtual machines, you can just invoke the memory adding command. You say, add 10 gigabytes. It will add the 10 gigabytes, you can carry on with your work. So this is actually where it should benefit you the most. And for me, it's set timer and set shopping list. So the potato seasoning is all out, I'm cooking. Hey Alexa, put potato seasoning in my shopping list, and it's there. So next time I'm in the store, I know it.
What should I add?
Potato seasoning.
Thank you.
I've added latest seasoning to your shopping list.
I don't know what I'm buying, but it's not potato seasoning. Yeah, please. The micro. Oh, sorry. Okay.
Hello. How are you dealing with the data structure and your algorithm? You're integrating two together, right? And you're making your test. Like you have a lot of data, and you make your algorithm, and you integrate it two together, and you make your own tests. So this is actually will be like when you're upgrading your machine. So everything will be the old or version or the new version for it, or which one you will keep? Both.
Keep what? Sorry.
The data, like you saying like hello, and the new hello, and you upgrading it to listen to you.
Okay, you mean like in this case here, I can just I can say the whole sentence. It knows what I want, or I can say that by part. I say that okay, shopping list. It shall ask what should I put in the shopping list. I say this, and it will know that it's all in the same context. You mean like?
So you're making it like an algorithm for it, like a test between like for each like for your shopping list. Like this is algorithm for it, like for your for stuff, like testing. It's like she testing already when she listening.
At the moment, it's listening all the time. So
yeah.
It's sending to the CIA and FSB and everybody. Everybody knows what we're talking here.
Yeah.
And also, it tests each word. If it's Alexa, then it will light up and start to record. Or
Smart devices on your network in Marcus's account.
Or
Features. First, ask me to discover devices.
Anyway, it's testing for the word. If it hears the wake word, it starts to look for possible answers. For example, if I say opens or ask Spotify, it will know that it will have to invoke the Spotify skill or application in that sort. But at the same time, if I'm building a skill for, let's say, for the Echo, it has, you have to give it some examples with placeholders. You say that usually human asks to put something as a placeholder into the shopping list. So you have some parts that are constants and some that are variables. And you make a big set of these possibilities for it to train, and then it will know that people are usually invoking the skills like this, and the placeholder should be there, and you will get this data, for example, potato seasoning, which it got wrong at the moment because of my my English, but actually it got something. He knew that this is the item that I want to place in the shopping list.
Mhm.
So you're defining all these first possible ideas, and then it will try to match it.
Match it between your input and your input at the output, right?
So I'm defining the input, how the placeholders are matched, and then I will also have to describe what's the response. So in this case, the shopping list, for example, is Amazon skill. So it's something that the Amazon has made, and it is a bit more fluent if you ask it like this. Just put it in the shopping list. If you create your own skill, you have to have a format for it. Also, you have to say, ask your skill name, something, and then you have the part of your code that does something, and you have to provide what sort of response does it give. So, for example, if it also knows, like from a general database, some Easter eggs, as they call it. If I ask something, it gives random answers, but it's something that Amazon has programmed it. But if you program only one response, it will respond to you every time the one and only thing, because it doesn't know how to respond or elaborate.
And from the security part, like I'm a cybersecurity student, so from the security part, like it's secure?
Well, only security is the wire. So if you use TLS on this, then well, actually, it's not super secure anyway, because it's always listening. I don't know. There's a button mute, but I don't know if it actually works. So inside, it might be still listening for national threats, for example.
So it's secure for now.
For them, it's secure, yes.
Okay, thank you.
What are the concerns about the legal nature of these things? So, for example, you talk about using a learning algorithm to figure out when stocks are about to go up or go down. Where does that border on insider trading or cheating the market? Same with betting, same with having that machine which potentially is listening to you. Are there worries that someone is going to make these kinds of things illegal? If I built an algorithm which can read vocal and visual cues of women around me to help me get laid, is that where I'm not asking you where the line is, but is there a worry of a line being drawn in these kinds of things that will make this technology unpleasant, uncomfortable?
Yeah, sure. I think that in some point of time, there will be serious discussions in this scenario. But at the moment, since let's say it's a bit of emerging technology, so it's really open, and you can do this algorithm, and you will be rich most probably if it works. So. But at one point, somebody will, let's say, make an appeal to the European Commission, and then you will have to shut down your business and approach in another way. But at the moment, as let's say, it's in my home, always listening, and at some point I have put an OK to terms of agreement that say that my firstborn and everything else is Amazon's, and I said yes, I want to use it, yes. So actually. The legal part is usually covered with these terms of agreements that say that we can do everything with your stuff if you want to use this. And I say yes.
But as far as the parts that affect other people and not you, that conversation really hasn't begun. Nobody's really asked that.
Yeah, that's true. If I have guests over and it's listening to them also, and they have not agreed to these terms, then it can be a legal debate over whether if they enter my home, they are under my conditions or they're on their own conditions. Or we had a comic in the Facebook, XKCD, with guests coming over and ordering 2 tons of corn via the Amazon Echo. So this is also something that maybe if anybody does it, I want to cancel it. So if it's legally possible, because I didn't order it. I think that there's room for legal debate and something for the lawyers of the, let's say, next 15 years, or where at that point it might come as a serious concern if everybody has one, for example.
May I ask another if nobody else?
Yeah, sure.
I'm going to give someone else a turn. What do you... I don't know exactly how to phrase the question, but the question is randomness introduced into these algorithms. So, for example, in your beer example, does your what beers do you like algorithm periodically suggest to you things that are deliberately outside of its outside of its data set, deliberately question its own algorithms? So
I get the idea, because let's say that let me mirror it in another sense, that if there's a labyrinth that the algorithm is trying to pass through, and there's a dead end, but it's really near to the exit. So it feels like this is a good thing, I should go there, but there's no way through. It should go back and lose some points in order to finish the task. So it's like you do something from the extremes, maybe it would maybe it would catch up, right? This is the question. Mm-hmm. So in my case, it's a real simple algorithm. And it's not suggesting these things. It's only trying to match these types and subtypes of the drink with these flavor combinations that I might like. I started off with the statistical way of comparing, but this was a really bad one, and this would never have this opposite version also. But if I drink, let's say, some of these from the other extreme and I like it, it will be introduced to this system, and it will know that there's a, let's say, yes, that one. And it might suggest it this way, but not by its own.
What is happening? So where I'm going with this conceptually is sort of an evolution that you could eventually end up with a data set of lemonades, for example, because it's found that what you really like is not beer, it's lemonade, based on your tastes and by giving you these outside sets. How often do we end up with evolution algorithms rather than learning algorithms that deliberately induce randomness to get to a completely different answer?
Oh, it's a tricky one.
I can see why you would not do that with like a self-driving car or something like that, where you really don't want it to do something strange. But in many cases, I feel like you kind of want it to try new things.
Well, what I have heard is that in some sense, people are introducing noise to the algorithms just to maybe confuse or not to overtrain them, because overtraining is the one extreme that might happen, that it only suggests these versions that I provided, but this is, let's say, the training level 2.0. If you already know how to get the model to do some basic suggestions, you have to introduce some kind of randomness, so it would look around and try to suggest everything out of the box. But this, I believe that it's something that I'm not good at answering, because my expertise is not on this level yet. But I'm trying to get there step at a time.
Did it has a voice recognition, like recognize only one person, like a fingerprint? So it has it already or not for this?
For the Amazon Alexa, it does not have it. But for example, Google has this voice recognition in terms of trusted voice, but it's not very reliant to my experience. Mm-hmm. So it's a possibility to add, but there's only certain use cases. Let's say the door. I say open door, it knows that, hey, Marcus, the door is open. Or it will say that, no, I don't know you, go away. But this at the moment does not provide it.
Yeah, but you will implement this as well. It should be implemented because it should be listening to one person only, give it a voice recognition for whatever it is. Like Windows has it already, and many devices has it. So why it's not implemented? It will listen all of us, like someone said Alexa, so it will respond.
Yeah, it will respond. Yes.
So it should be have a.
Well, it's a use case, but let's say if it's in our office and we have a presentation room, and I say start presentation, it will close the blinds and start the projector. I want all the employees of this company to be able to operate it, not just me. It would be really tiresome to just go every time there and start the presentation for whatever meeting is going on. So in this sense, I want to have it open. But in the security sense, as I understand, this is your main line. It's an option that you might want to have if it's in your home. For example, the corn example we had previously, that my friends wouldn't do that or order me whatever, cement maybe.
So it could be an option for it, create a group and users for it at admin user, what we call it, admin user, administrator user, and they can control it, and already a guest for a guest user, they can make stuff really, really simple stuff for it, because everything is a security concerns for the people. Yes, I'm saying something and it will respond with your information and your list. Everything is a threat for us, your information, your beer, it's like a threat. I am love this beer, but it's a threat.
They're Alexa, give Marcus a spin number to everybody, and it will just say 1, 2, 3, 4, and everybody will know it. But no, I get the idea. It's there's a sci-fi series, Expanse, where a ship was operated in a way that when the commander entered in, it said, grant everybody rights to this ship for the voice-enabled part. So it should work in the same way that I say that now grant everybody who's talking or in the room, they can interact, but otherwise it's only me or this specific set of people. But if I authorize somebody, then they can talk. But since it's only software-based, you can develop it. That's the fun part. The only hardware part is the microphone and the speaker. So this won't change, but we can.
Yeah, upgrading it and upgrade the algorithm and everything. Keep developing, right?
It's a possibility, but not yet implemented.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, from there.
Thank you. So it seems to me that these devices and whatnot, they can improve our lives and make doing certain processes easier. But on one level, they're just sort of gimmicky. They're a product that can be sold to us. True AI, when we reach the Kurzweil singularity, that will be something that will be able to develop products on its own. So aren't we approaching a place where there will be two tiers of artificial intelligence, where we have these toys for the common people, and then the people who invested all the resources in developing the advanced AI that will actually be better than humans in everything, to only accumulate more wealth, etc.
Okay, yeah, thanks. Well, the wealth part, this is I think that the AI does not care about the wealth, maybe. But anyway, yeah, well, true. But in terms of this, let's go back to the Microsoft Tay for the chatbot. It gathered some experience from this event, and this was all stored in the cloud. Also, the DeepMind, we saw it playing today. This experience of this Pong or whatever, it accumulated this experience also. It's constantly getting experiences, and they're all stored, I hope, or maybe I do not hope that, in the same place. So it's like a central brain for all these experiences around the world. I'm a bit afraid of the DARPA. They're building the products, these robots, and they're trying to pull them over and push them over. And maybe it's recording also. So next time you create a robot, you connect it with this general experience. It knows, human, I know what you do. You try to push me over, or whatever the Microsoft's they learned from this experience. But it's actually the set of experiences which are being gathered at the moment is maybe one moment, a tipping point for the singularity, because it knows very many things that we have taught it maybe in separate parts of the world, but actually in the net they're all, you can combine them.
Right. Yeah, and I think just to clarify a little bit, I'm speaking more about the this true singularity AI will be like compartmentalized, and only the people who developed it will have access to it, and therefore they will reap the benefits of all the advances that are synthetic advances coming from the artificial intelligence.
Okay, yeah, okay.
And yeah, so anyway, thank you.
Thank you. So I'm just curious, what advances in artificial intelligence are you looking most forward to yourself? Like, what are you missing in this world right now?
Oof,
what makes you tick?
Well, it's a really hard one, because we have all these small components that are great on their own. But they should be, or they should start working on integrating them even more tightly. For example, if I have the one algorithm that does this one thing, for example, he knows how to summarize a text for me. And there's another one who knows what's in the picture. Maybe you can draw pictures from some texts, because you summarize a book and you draw a cartoon, for example, something creative for combining these two things. But actually, at the moment, they're really basic standalone stuff. So, and more data. This is something that actually enabled everything else to this point where we are now. For example, the pictures, music, what you like or what's similar. And the voice recognition also. When we have more data, when we upload more pictures to Instagram or record more videos, then these algorithms will become smarter. But eventually, you have to put them together to get some kind of cool value from it.
But companies aren't very willing to share data, right? Everybody's sitting on top of it and just guarding, oh, my precious.
Well, data is money. If you have the customer data, you know what to suggest, or you can sell the data to interested parties. So it would be insane for them to just give it away that, hey, Markus wants to, wants to buy beer and this sort of beer. So I will get commercials from every store. That the double bock is now 10 cents. And I wouldn't like that, but actually this is going on at the moment, because Google is not actually giving away the data, but they're saying that give me your commercial and I will know who to target. So it's actually a bit more clever approach. But then again, the same companies are developing the algorithms also. For example, the DeepMind is Google backed, so they have all the data, and this is maybe something that the previous question was referring to, a kind of set of people who will get this smart intelligence that will make them things, and then they can sell it.
Thank you. And your biggest fears with regards to artificial intelligence, in near future?
actually, it's not even regarding to the artificial intelligence only. It affects us as a people also. That if you study the internet or if you read the entire internet, then there's a lot of crap also in it. And if you put the machine learning to scavenge the data from it and tell that this is how humans work and this is what we do, it will read all the telegraphs and all these other Russian Today news and will form some kind of general knowledge because it doesn't know that is this the way it's supposed to be, or is this some kind of funny story? And if we don't have this balance right, then it can work out a scary algorithm, and if you put wheels or legs to it, it will maybe do something like in the science fiction
Kill all
movies.
humans.
Kill all humans, yes. So maybe this sort of advancement is not that good, or if you put logic on before emotions. Let's say we have a operating bot that operates on machine learning. He knows how to operate very complex procedures and also knows how to calculate which is the most optimal outcome money-wise also. And at some point, more cheaper would be just to kill the patient for it. So it's just doing the logic there.
Thank you.
Okay, but if there are any more questions, there are. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I have a question. Do you know any examples of AIs used in Estonia?
Well, on the ground, on the premise, or in Estonian code?
Let's say Estonian companies, so not strictly on the ground of Estonia.
I'm sure that somebody does. Even Helmes has done it in one project. I wasn't part of that, but maybe I can find you some answers if you like more to know about this. And also, I know that Skype has bots, but I don't know if they are making it like as a part of artificial intelligence. My site has AI in it. So there are some advancements, but I cannot be 100% sure.
Thanks.
Yes?
Really basic machine learning, not like artificial intelligence, but some practical machine learning which solves practical tasks which like provide business value.
Yeah, there's one point is if you are in such company and somebody says that you have to develop this image recognition, at the moment I suggest to try the Algorithmia. They have already trained models for you there. And also regarding to the image recognition, there are a lot of algorithms that are open and good that you can use. But I'm sure that everybody's fiddling doing something, but actually there are no clients that will open the door and say that, hey, we want artificial intelligence. Oh, okay, we have these customers, but somebody who says that we need machine learning to do that. We don't have these customers because they're not that advanced yet. They want their self-services or some similar applications.
Well, that's the sales process.
Yeah, well, yes, but it's moving towards it because you cannot script everything. And let's say that if we have at the moment big UIs, fancy UIs that designers design just for the end user's experience to be pleasant, but actually you're not doing much in it. You're maybe ordering a product which could be, let's say, implemented in the API.ai site and say that if customer says order this product, it will invoke your API and do the product, let's say, purchase for you. So you're moving from this visual to maybe this integrated world where you can then use machine learning to think what the customer would want and then use these interactions on the system level maybe, not in so much the front-end side. But I understand we are running out of time, and maybe if one more question was there, no? Okay, anyway. Girls now will think of the best question, and we will do a proud ceremony of gifts. But anyway, when they're deciding, thank you for participating, and I hope that I gave you some insights about that topic. I don't know everything, but nobody knows, so I have some ideas that maybe you can take and then do something that changes the world. Jah, võib-olla küll. Okay, so the winner has been announced to me. And the girls have decided that you there in the red, yes, you had the best question, so here's a gift card also. This will actually be replaced with actual Amazon Echo Dot if you give us your.
I need your contacts. I have to give you my information, just like those Amazon people. Okay.
Yeah, but thank you for coming. Have a good day.